Start. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us in this breakout session, which is part of the breakout learning and teaching. And this session is jointly organized by UNESCO-IICBA. IICBA is the International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa, based in Ethiopia. And REB is Rwanda Basic Education Board, which is based in Rwanda. So thank you very much. But before we start, let me just introduce myself. I am Salih Usal. I'm the Senior Program Coordinator of UNESCO-IICBA. And I would like to share with you some rules to observe. As this is a hybrid meeting, I'll be inviting people inside the room to participate, but there are also some colleagues who will be attending online. We'll be giving them the floor. For the sake of better conditions of hearing, I'm kindly requesting you to mute your microphones when you're not speaking, and also your videos. But when you are speaking, you can activate your videos, of course. For those following online, you can post your questions in the chat, and our colleague Davide here will be sharing the questions and comments to you. We have also Christine, who will be participating in the moderation. We are glad to receive in person the General Director of REB, Mr. Nelson. So, Director, we are honored to have you. We have also his colleagues, Nicolas, Leon, and Christine. And on the other side, we have Davide Rousseli from UNESCO Dakar, and will be assisted by our colleague Kevin, who is in the assistant. So thank you very much. So the title of this session is Teacher Development Through Digital Skills and Open Learning Opportunities. To discuss that, we have invited some guests from Blackboard company, and also from some companies, some countries like the Gambia and Nigeria. So to start with, we're going to listen to the opening remarks, which will be made by Yumiko Yokozeki, the director of UNESCO-IICBA. I don't know if Yumiko is online to provide the opening remarks.
Yes, I am.
Yumiko?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh dear.
We can. She's speaking, but we cannot hear you loud.
No? I can't hear you, Yumiko, but I don't
hear you,
Yumiko.
Okay, but you can't hear me very well in, okay. I will try to speak loudly. Thank you very much, Salih, and thank you very much, participants, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure to make this opening remarks at the 13th Teacher Task Force Policy Dialogue Forum breakout session organized by UNESCO-IICBA and REB. This teacher development through digital skills and open learning opportunities in Africa is a very timely event, since it links digital skills with open and distance learning, as well as multiple learning pathways, all of which are not only core areas of intervention since the COVID-19 crisis and the school closure, but also essential for creating learning opportunities for all, which is a precondition for achieving SDG 4. This pandemic suddenly required employees in various sectors worldwide to be digitally skilled in order to carry out their day-to-day work. Teachers were not exceptions. Schools were closed. Teachers and the students stayed at home. These challenges forced educators and practitioners to online learning solutions. But this came with a risk of exacerbating existing socioeconomic and digital divides. A large number of learners and teachers do not have access to digital devices, internet, and even electric power. This issue is most prevalent in Africa. The demand for digital skills, ODL modalities, and multiple learning pathways is highest in Africa. Schools in Africa were not prepared to host courses and lessons online. Teachers were heavily relying on the face-to-face modalities with a little or no integration of ICT in the education system. So UNESCO and other international development partners needed to work with ministries of education and member states in Africa on the development of online learning management system, customized to the realities of the countries. The platforms alone would not be sufficient unless teachers are empowered with digital skills required to use the LMS, this learning management systems. We should not forget the issue of socio-economic and digital divide. Many African learners come from families that cannot afford to buy digital devices. The emphasis in ODL development should also be on creation of multiple learning pathways and opportunities to ensure no one is left behind, regardless of their socioeconomic conditions. And this is how we will be able to achieve SDG 4. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share with you here some good examples of work done by UNESCO-IICBA in collaboration with other partners like GPE, KFIT, and UNESCO regional offices in Africa, as well as some best practices in Rwanda and Cameroon. We developed a platform called Imagine Learning Africa with the UNESCO Abuja office with the funding from GPE. The platform is developed for Anglophone West African countries. It consists of 8 ICT enhanced subject teaching modules and 2 generic courses on digital skills for teachers and instructional design for instructional designs. Secondly, with the UNESCO Abuja and Dakar Regional Office and the ECOWAS Secretariat, ICBA developed online modules for teachers, radio and TV personnel of the 15 West African countries. The courses are hosted in ICBA's virtual campus. Thirdly, with the UNESCO's Nairobi Regional Office and the funding from KFIT, ICBA developed online modules for Tibet teachers for East African countries. The modules are on 21st century skills for Tibet teachers and on how to conduct ODL for Tibet teachers. And finally, the Programme de Candidat Libre in Rwanda and the external candidate program in Cameroon have enabled non-formal learners to enroll and sit for national exams for the same awards as formal students. In Rwanda, the program benefited more than 24,000 teachers who are able to gain or upgrade their teaching qualification thanks to this program. The program also opened access to tertiary education for many non-formal learners from low-income families, an opportunity they could not get otherwise. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, such efforts need to be developed further to respond to the huge demand for digital skills for teachers, ODL, and multiple learning pathways in Africa. We must make this crisis into opportunities. I am therefore very confident that you will enjoy this session run by my colleagues and partners, and from those sessions, we will gain innovative insights that will help us move forward in our quest for teacher development and SDG 4 accomplishment in Africa and globally. I wish you all the best in this very exciting session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Yumiko Yokozeki, Director of UNESCO-IICBA. Thank you for sharing the great achievements realized by IICBA, REB, and other entities in Africa. I must say that although the achievements are great, much more needs to be done because the demand is huge. And this activity, this meeting is part of that endeavor to look for solutions to address those needs. You have mentioned it. The digital divide is huge. And unless we address it efficiently, we will not be able to achieve the SDG 4. And one of the ways of achieving it is to develop digital skills among all the education communities, but especially among the teachers. And that is why we have invited some experts today to talk about this topic. We're having 3 topics to be dealt with this afternoon. One of them is teaching and learning and collaboration. The second one is gender responsive STEM, e-content development and learning assessment. And the third one is supporting teachers in assessing students during the pandemic. For the first topic, that section will discuss essential competencies for teachers in the 21st century, search web resources, creating digital content in diverse formats, developing game based on learning. So to discuss that, we have 2 topics. The first one is scaling up quickly on teachers' digital literacy. And one of our partners, Nicolas Albuz from Blackboard, will be sharing us their experience in Blackboard. I wonder whether Nicolas is online.
Can you hear me okay?
Of course, we can hear you loud and clear. Please
Fantastic.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. Hello, friends and colleagues. So I don't know if you're in capacity to see the slides, because I think I had a couple of slides that should be available somewhere.
I'll be asking my colleague if it can be displayed. Yes, it's coming. Yeah. Is it?
That is absolutely perfect. All right. Yeah, so that's absolutely perfect. So thank you very much. And hello, friends and colleagues. I am Nicolas Albuz. I am the Regional Vice President for Blackboard Africa. Can we move to the next slide, please? So I would like to take a moment to thank the UNESCO International Institute for Capacity Building team for creating this event, but above all, for the great work that they're doing on the field to improve education in Africa. So in case you don't know Blackboard, we are the worldwide leader in distance education, supporting more than 100 million teachers and learners daily on their education journey across 90 countries. We are at the crossroad between education and pedagogy. Can we move to the next slide, please? So when COVID-19 started, the UNESCO launched a global education coalition initiative to bring continuity to the 1.5 billion learners who couldn't access to their schools anymore. Blackboard naturally decided to join the coalition. We thought about the best way to quickly support this emergency. And we thought that maybe it would be great to provide our software solution openly and freely. But we thought it will take time, and it will probably be more relevant in the second stage. Moreover, we know that teachers are extremely creative and already had some technology around them for them to use. So on this very first stage, we thought that the most important, crucial aspect was the teacher development to help them understand how to move from on-site, face-to-face, to teaching only online with simple yet efficient solutions around them. Can we please move to the next slide? So together with the UNESCO and also the support of the GIZ, we focused first on the Caribbean region to create a large teacher development program focused on digital and blended learning. Can we please move to the next? Fantastic. So what made our program quite unique? First, the design of the content. It needed to be universal, relevant, accessible, efficient, achievable, and measurable. We wanted to make sure that there was no prerequisite. It simply needed to be teachers enrolled. It was focused on the fundamental principle of distance learning. Is a mobile phone something we need to fight or something we need to embrace for teaching methodology, for example? It was completely solution agnostic and very short in terms of duration. And of course, it also came with a certification, which is always great when it comes to motivation. The second aspect that was very important was the delivery methodology. We needed to touch as many teachers as possible in a very short amount of time with very few technology. We didn't want something purely online. We also wanted to have mentoring activity so that there was a human interaction to support the engagement and make sure that we didn't lose any teacher along the way. This also led us to having a cascading model where facilitator got trained by their own peer and therefore they became the teachers themselves. This also removed many of the cultural boundaries and barriers and differences. If we can move to the next slide. So on this very first initiative, we were actually amazed by the results. To date, 12,000 teachers enrolled the program. 70% of them finished the whole course, and the content and the methodology were rated 4.7 out of 5 stars. That gives a very good indication towards the level of quality and how receptive the teachers were on that program. And since that was a very good success, we are now aiming to prepare something very similar, targeting 5 African countries. If you can move to the next slide. Something that is very important to us as well is traceability. And we are now working on an after 6 months survey to validate how the joint initiative with the UNESCO-IICBA team changed the practices overall. Finally, we are also investigating how to accelerate on the teachers development program by working directly with some ministries of education in Africa on the TVET schools. After the economic forum, in 10 years from now, 90% of the jobs will require digital skills. But how can we equip today's learner with digital skills if their teachers have none? By focusing on TVET across multiple countries in Africa, we are aiming to accelerate the digital practices so that the students can acquire them to meet their future job requirement. After all, education and employment work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicolas, for sharing experiences in the framework of the collaboration between UNESCO-IICBA, UNESCO in general, Blackboard, GIZ, and so on, and also for sharing the great achievements you have realized, and the results have shown it. You have shown great statistics, and those results are really seen on the ground because we can see now how the practices are changing in a positive way. So thank you very much, Nicolas. Probably we'll come back to you with questions from the audience in the room and online. The next topic is about digital content development and collaboration skills. And that topic will be treated by our colleague, Dr. Temechen Ngida, Program Officer, ICT Specialist at UNESCO-IICBA. So Dr. Temechen, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello, Temechen. Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, friends, and all protocols observed, as Salu indicated it, we will discuss about digital skills. Actually, UNESCO-IICBA's work. UNESCO-IICBA is a Category 1 institute, as already mentioned, and focuses on strengthening teacher development in Africa. So as part of our work on teacher development, we have produced different training modules for teachers in Africa, one of which is on digital skills. So digital skills is defined by UNESCO as a range of abilities to use digital devices, communication applications, and networks to access and manage information. Since the network is telling me that my network is not stable, I may put off the video. I hope it's okay for you. So the digital skills enable people to create and share digital content, communicate and collaborate, and solve problems for effective and creative self-fulfillment in life, learning, work, and social activities. As you all know, the current generation of learners are digitally native or digital natives, and who have tremendous motivation to go on digital. But teachers are not trained to use new technologies adequately, and this has profoundly negative impact on their confidence as teachers. In order to fill this gap, UNESCO-IICBA has developed a number of interventions. For instance, when the COVID pandemic erupted, we tried to introduce ODLT, online and distance learning for teachers in Africa, a very introductory course in how teachers can empower themselves to teach online and what kind of tools they can use. And then we have realized that they still need those digital skills. In one of the approach, we even introduced the basic literacy, computer literacy component, but this one is more on content development, multimedia content development, and collaborative skills. So in this module, which we expect before the end of this year, before 31st December, 5,000 teachers just in West Africa, 5 countries, will be enrolled and take this course. And the main components that we included in this course are ability to establish blog and wiki. You know, when students are away from each other, I mean, they are home, they are in school or wherever, they need the opportunity to work collaboratively. And the teachers should have the capacity to establish blog and wiki. So this is one of the digital skills that teachers need in the 21st century. The second one is ability to create engaging visuals. As you know, pictures speak thousands more than words. And in addition to that, this multimedia creation and development skills addresses learning styles of the learner. So engaging visuals, not just pictures and images, but things that engage. And what kind of tools they use, they are available in the course. And the ability to use and create video content, and video adds vision to the audio. So using the video content creation and development for educational purposes, teachers will be very capable of creating multimedia lessons. And the ability to create digital audio content. There are a number of even open source software that teachers can use to create educational audio digital content. And the ability to use social media for professional development opportunities. Nowadays, every person is on the social media, but not for educational purposes. So what are the strategies to use this social media for educational purposes? And teachers can capitalize on this cheap cell phones who have the capacity to use the various social medias. And ability to search the web in an effective and efficient manner. You know, if you put some kind of...
2 minutes to wrap up, please. 2 minutes.
In 1 minute, I will finish.
Oh, that's fine.
Ability to search the web in an efficient and effective manner is also very important, because when you put a search word on the Google or any search engine, it gives you millions of contents, and teachers will be very unlikely to go through all those kinds of things. And the ability to embrace game-based learning, particularly when teachers are at lower level, teaching at lower levels, the game-based learning has become very important. So how can teachers create these kinds of learning? So we invite you at some point to engage yourself in this content, in this course, and develop your digital skills. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Temechen, for that experience regarding the ODL, open and distance learning, the digital skills, the modules you have developed to develop capacities of teachers to have some audio content, video content, and game-based learning contents. You will come back because ICT is very important nowadays as we are experiencing a lot of challenges due to the COVID-19 situations. So without further ado, we go to the next section. The next session is entitled Gender Responsive STEM, of course. Is it, yes, Content Development and Learning Assessment. This session will be devoted on one hand to sharing best practices from Ethiopia and Ghana, to name but just from countries, in which training was given to teachers and teacher educators to equip them with digital skills that they would have applied to simulate girls' learning in STEM subjects. On the other hand, it will share strategies on conducting relevant learning assessment during a crisis. So to discuss those themes, we are inviting again at the first place, Dr. Temechen Ngida, who will be talking to us about gender responsive STEM and e-assessment. So Temechen, I think that you have not left, so the floor is yours again.
Thank you, Salu, again. Yes, as you all know, women have made tremendous progress in education and the workplace during the past 50 years. And even business law and medicine, women have made impressive gains. But in scientific areas, they are not that much. And we usually, according to UIS report, we usually lose them when we come to the PhD level and in the workplace. Recognizing this fact, ICBA offered training in Ghana and Ethiopia, as well as a teacher project in 6 African countries, in how teachers attract girls into the STEM field and STEAM field as well, scientific, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics part. In doing so, we felt that bringing the contextualized and like kitchen-based, home-based problems and content would be important. For this, we have introduced to the teachers how they can develop e-learning content in the STEM fields, and how they introduce assessment, e-assessment, electronic assessment into the teaching learning process. In order to do that, we used several open source software, and teachers were very excited because instead of copying and pasting content, they were developing their own content, and they were developing e-assessment, like using hot potatoes, multiple choice, jigsaw, and matching everything, and they can upload their assessment questions into Moodle or any other platforms that they have. And this e-assessment was mainly based on formative feedback, in which the teacher is providing immediate feedback through the online system. And when students are working on the questions, they will get feedback even for the correct answer and for the incorrect answers as well. So the questions are not, the assessment questions are not just for judging students, but for helping them learn, assessment for learning. So these aspects are also included in our modules as part of instructional design module. And I'm sure at some point in the coming years, we will reach out to many teachers in Africa, and that can help them attract girls into the STEM field and, of course, the STEAM field as well. Thank you very much. Salut.
Thank you very much, Temechen, for that the effective presentation and for sharing experience regarding the use of STEM and gender mainstreaming in two countries especially, but hopefully that experience will be expanded to other countries very, very shortly. So thank you very much. So still in that section, we have another topic, but the topic is about supporting teachers in assessing students during the pandemic. It will be one presentation, but we'll have the honor to have 2 presenters. They are from the Gambia. One of them is Hadiba, Principal Education Officer, Science and Technology Directorate, Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education in the Gambia. And the second one Mamadou Dieng, the Director of Curriculum Research Evaluation and Development at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. So Mr. Dieng and Mrs. Ba, the floor is yours. You decide who will be starting first. Hadiba.
Hello.
Hello. Good. The floor is yours. Hello. Hello, Kadi. Kadi, can you hear us? Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kadi.
How are you?
We're fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present on helping teachers conduct assessment during the pandemic in the Gambian context. So I'm presenting on behalf of the Gambian team. So Mr. Dieng is not presenting, I'm the one who will be presenting.
So you take the whole 5 minutes then.
Okay, then thank you.
Thank you.
So can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, this is the outline of the presentations. We will be looking at the introduction, what we have been doing throughout the COVID, and capacity building in terms of lesson preparation and delivery. And we look at capacity building in terms of assessment and the challenges. Can you move on? Move to the next slide. So the introduction: during the pandemic in 2020, the ministry was delivering lessons through the radio and television, because during that time, there was school closure, students were at home, and the only thing we could do was to present lessons through the radio and television. And all community radios and television were contracted to do this lesson delivery nationwide. Some teachers, we had about 5 television stations and 23 community radios that were contracted to deliver these lessons online through the GPE, World Bank, and UNICEF, UNESCO, through their support. So some teachers were also using WhatsApp groups to deliver lessons to their students, because despite the fact that we have general lessons that are delivered in the television and radio, but again, you have teachers who were delivering lessons for their classes, like if you have a grade 1 class or a grade 2 class or an examination class, for example, grade 9 and grade 12. So some teachers uses WhatsApp to deliver their lessons. So some teachers were also organizing students in their communities with limited smartphone. For example, in rural Gambia, where in some cases you don't have signals or access to these radios and television, or maybe there are some instances, there was a community with only few radios that were available. So what they were doing is they organized these children and bring them together and open a radio for them to listen, and they are supported by the teacher. So again, what we were doing was the teachers selected during the lesson are those who were attending trainings on the subject area on content and pedagogy. You know, we have been doing some in-service training for most of our teachers, and in that case, we identified some teachers who are master trainers. So when we were doing the selection, because it was prompt and we couldn't know exactly who are the good teachers that can help us, but our master trainers were the ones that we contacted to help us in this content and pedagogical, to help us in this lesson delivery. So phase 1 include subjects like mathematics, English, biology, physics, chemistry. And we were looking at English and mathematics at all levels from grade 1 to grade 12, and biology and physics and chemistry at the senior secondary level. Then we went to phase 2 when we added social and environmental studies, general science, history, financial accounting, economics, Arabic, and French, including the mathematics, English, biology, physics, and chemistry. So these were the subjects that were delivered on radio and television. And phase 3, we didn't do any recording or any lesson preparation. We were looking at worksheets that can accompany in mathematics and English that can accompany the lessons, that the videos that we have earlier on. And phase 4, 5, and 6, other subjects like agriculture, geography, and home science were also added in the lesson preparation and delivery in the videos. Can we please go to the next slide? Yes. So in terms of capacity building, we build capacity of these teachers from the lesson preparation to the delivery. You can see that in teachers' capacity, we are built on how to use technology, as the earlier presenters have alluded. Most of the teachers were not ICT literate, and what we are doing, because we have some ICT specialists in the office, they help some of these teachers on basic literacy, how to do spreadsheet and other things. So they were also supported by officers on how to prepare formative assessment questions using PowerPoint or Smart Notebook. So overall, presentation of these video lessons were in the form of formative assessment questions. So during the paper, they were being helped to prepare formative assessment questions, and also how to insert text, pictures, graphic, and other features in the lessons. So these lessons were, yes?
Kadi, can you wrap up in 2 minutes, please?
Okay, these lessons were edited before presentation, and in the lesson delivery, teachers were exposed to the use of the smart board in delivering lesson. Can you go, please? And you go, next slide, next slide. So formative assessment is used as an integral part of lesson delivery. Student worksheets were developed, printed, and also uploaded on Island Gambia platform to reinforce further engagement on lessons that were presented through radio, television, and online. Teachers were also helped to type text on spreadsheets. All those things involve capacity building and orientation on how to use the student worksheets that also they were trained on. Can we go to the final slide on challenges? So some of the challenges we have are, I will start from the bottom as alluded by other presenters: electricity and poor internet services to access this distant learning material. Radio or television signals in some part of the country is poor, or some of the areas or communities do not have any access to these signals. And video transcription did not concur with the audio, because what we were doing is that the video were directly translated to audio, and it was observed that the lesson delivered to radio did not cater for appropriate spacing to allow learners to follow the lessons with much ease. And finally, the recordings and editing usually take longer time because of limited space, availability of number of trained cameramen and video editors. So despite of all these things, we were able to do something during the pandemic. And I thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Kadi. I think we can. Thank you very much for this brilliant presentation. We show that things are moving really in the Gambia, in many countries. The 6 phases you have presented show that you are doing your utmost to reach the maximum possible, the maximum people possible using radio, TV, and other means. And also you are endeavoring to build the capacities of teachers in their teaching activities, but also in their assessment activities. So thank you very much, Kadi. We'll come back to you. So the last section is about accelerating teacher capacity development, inclusive and equitable education. Based on the success of the program, the Candida Libre program, which is developed by the REB, that enable thousands of teachers to upgrade their qualifications and open access to public higher education for non-formal socio-economically disoriented learners, multiple learning pathways that may accelerate teacher capacity development and achievement of SDG 4 in developing settings, as well as the necessary policy enablers for those learning pathways to flourish those areas will be discussed. Teacher policy in Nigeria, on the other hand, and its links to achievement of SDG 4 will also be, a subject that we'll be hearing about. So to talk about that, we have 3 speakers. The first speaker, Mr. Leon Mungezi, Head of Teacher Development and Management of REB, will talk about about overview of the program, the Candidate Libre of REB, its background and its records. So Mr. Leon is present here, so he'll be taking the floor and then sharing with us some experiences related to that topic. Leon, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, moderator. Let's say hi to all teachers who are in this room as the head of teacher development management. I would like to give you just overview of the program of the Candidate Libre. That's a program that allows no formal learners to enroll and sit for national examinations under the same conditions and for the same award as former students. So it's a program which started in 1998, and for grading, it's anonymous grading as former students. And who was funding this program? It's self-funded, funded through examination service. It's really the student themselves who pay the school fees, who pay, but not in former learners. Is a fraction of tuition fee paid for by former students. So that program was managed by different institutions, but first of all, from 1998 up to 2011, it was Rwanda National Examination Council in that time. And from 2011 up to 2020, it was Rwanda Education Board. Now from 2020 to present, now it's a National Examination and the School Inspection Authority. So that program, as it was mentioned even this in introduction of these sessions, it's really a program enable about 25,000 teachers to upgrade their qualification. So right now, what we can say for this program, we have the program contributed to 24,981 teachers we required qualified to teach at primary level. So I will be very brief. I would like to hand over to our colleague Bernard to explain these new learning pathways. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Leo. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you very much, Bernard.
And also
I would like to thank Bernard first for the information she has shared with us and the good statistic which show that the program is really effective. So Bernard is at UNESCO-IICBA, but he knows very well that program, the Candidate Libre, because he benefited from that. So in addition to what Nicolas to what Leon has shared with us, Bernard will add some more information. So Bernard, you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much, Sally. Maybe while I'm introducing myself, I would like to ask the people who are working with the presentation to move forward, because some of the early presentations have been said by Leo. Please, if you can move a couple of slides ahead, that would be fantastic. So in the meantime, my name is Bernard Ngugat, as it has been said. I'm a project officer at UNESCO-IICBA. And yeah, I will be talking more about this program. Please move a couple of slides ahead. Okay, so maybe we can start really on these slides where we think that program is very important. If we look at the education challenge in Africa, as it is highlighted in the Continental Education Strategy for Africa, from the African Union Commission perspective, Africa has one competitive advantage, which is being the youngest continent. But when you look at the education in Africa, pre-primary accessible to 20%, primary 79%, secondary 50%, and tertiary education only accessible to below 10%. It also makes sense to conclude that Africa is also the place where most potential and future talents are wasted. And this is a competitive disadvantage that probably offsets the competitive advantage. The next slide, please. Please go, move on, the next slide. Next. That one. So the previous one, please. The previous slide. So when these programs were so because the national examination were open to both formal students and non-formal learners, multiple learning pathways emerged automatically, and they enabled many people to learn and go and get the same qualification. In addition to school-based learning, there were also catch-up programs that were started in some districts, mainly in the city, the capital city. And those are weekend programs. For example, some schools help people prepare national exams. And the other programs were blended learning, where people engage in self-paced learning, coupled with support from peers. And then there was completely self-paced learning by those people who were preparing for national exams. And what is important is how all those formal students and non-formal learners converged to the same national exam for the same award. The award was either diploma or certificate. Even students learned for higher education. And that is what motivated many teachers to engage in that program. The next slide, I will yield over to Leo again. Leo, over to you, if you can hear me.
Yes, thank you very much, Bernard. Now, for the sustainable, for the central role of teachers in that program, what we can say here is that for the question bank development, for the examination in invigilation, for examination paper marking, teachers who were selected to do that. So what we can say for this program, we can say that despite this considerable impact of the program that can derive on teachers, there is really a need to acknowledge that such learning opportunity needs to be expanded to enable life learning for all stipulated by sustainable development goals. So thank you very much. I end this, my presentation here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leon, and thank you, Bernard. Thank you for the interactive approach you have.
Yes, the presentation is still going. If you can bring the slides again where we were, please.
It's not done.
Yes.
Are you not done, Bernard?
Yeah. So I wanted to explain that learning pathway while they are working on the slides again. Okay. I would like also to highlight, why it is the program was really very important. Looking at its sustainability. If you can run the slides, please, where they were. Hello, can you hear me? Anyone nodding the slides?
Yes.
Or I can open them from my side. All right, please move next one. Next two. Next. So I think the program is very important because we have really a serious education issue which link to basic economic principle. We have seen those statistics where below 90% of African young people are not accessing education, 50% are not in higher education. Why? The problem is because there's scarcity of resources. On one hand, in any society, any individual, there's unlimited needs and wants. And on the other hand, there are limited resources to meet those wants. And we think that is the basic principle why education, only 90%, for example, of African young people can access higher education, and only 50% can access secondary education. For that reason, from economic perspective, choice has to be made when there are limited resources and limited needs. And also choices means sacrifice. And as we have seen on those statistics, the sacrifice is more than 90% of young people in Africa who are not attending higher education. And also, there's also the, if we make a sacrifice, there's also opportunity cost, which means the alternative. So for any investment to happen, whether by those students who went to hand learning resources and learn on their own, so the benefit has to be very important and more important than the cost. Please move on to the next slide. When we look at investment, why are those choices that involve sacrifice made? The reason is sometimes because there's overemphasis on what we call tangible assets, capital, financial resources for building schools, learning technologies such as computers, textbooks, and even others, even the internet. The problem with these limited, they are very limited at some point. They are rivalrous. Example we can give, if there are 2 copies of textbook, and there are 18 or let's say 10 students who want to borrow that textbook, if 2 of them take the 2 copies, all others are automatically excluded. And therefore, over-reliance on those resources inevitably lead to socioeconomic exclusion. But in addition to those resources, and why we think the program, the Candalibre, was very successful, is because there are also intangible assets that need to be invested. Those include, they revolve around the concept of willingness. Those include the strong political will to develop enabling policies, and also willingness to develop, to learn, willingness and determination to learn, including via multiple learning pathways. And those intangible assets,
Bernard,
yes.
Can you please wrap up in 1 minute, please?
Sure. Those intangible assets are really non-rivalrous, and they lead to inclusion. So if we move quickly, the slides, skip that one, we move to quickly. And when we look at back the previous one, I would like to highlight how really the best practices are emerging. Please, the previous slide, how new innovations, even in online learning education, are also going into multiple learning pathways. Please, if you can come to the previous slide, that's what I want to present. So we can give example here how those practices, similar practices as those ones that were done at RAPE, are current most innovative practices in online education. We can give example of Edinburgh Business School that opened this program, campus-based program, for people to learn in multiple learning pathways. Anyone can enroll in those postgraduate programs by course purchase. And of course, that route of learning enabled to bring other multiple learning, self-paced online learning that can be coupled with some online examination preparation sessions, self-paced offline learning as well, coupled with online sessions, and self-paced learning, and also that can be either online or offline. And after those learning, when anyone is ready to sit for exam, they register for exam, and they get the same award and certificate. So to wrap up, if we move to the next slide, I would like to say
30 seconds, please.
Sure.
Please, yeah.
Sure. This is an opportunity that is there, and the good thing is that Africa also has started realizing, if you come 2 slides before, please. Africa has also started realizing that multiple learning pathways are very important. The previous one. So if you look at what's planned in the continental strategy, is mobilization of resources, focusing much more on domestic resources that are available in Africa, but also ensuring free access to textbooks, and making sure there's a qualification framework that enable the creation of multiple learning pathways. So briefly, we hope that these multiple learning pathways, if there's innovation in them, they will be able to help Africa be able to really open education to everyone in need without any extra cost, because the cost is already on the development of learning resources, which is fixed cost. Thank you very much. This is the end of the presentation. Over to you, Salim.
Thank you very much, Bernard. And thank you, Leon. The presentations were complementary and they have provided us with a lot of information and relevant information. So the next topic, the last one, will be on teacher policy in Nigeria and SDG 4 achievements, implementation, strategies, challenges, and opportunities. And it will be presented by Professor Josiah Ajiboy, Deputy President, Africa AFTRA, and Registrar, Chief Executive of Teachers Registration Council in Nigeria. So Professor Josiah, are you with us? Professor? Hello? Professor? So he doesn't seem to be online. So if that is the case, probably we go to the questions and comments. He's not online. They're signaling me that he's not online. He may join by the end, sometime by the end of the session. But for the time being, I give the floor to Davide to conduct the chat moderation.
Thank you very much, Saliu. We have a few questions from our audience online. But I think first of all, maybe let's try to see if anyone in the room has some questions for the panelists. Please. You can touch on your mic. Please, ma'am. And can I ask you to please introduce yourself and also name your country and organization? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Betty Azati, Uganda, chair of the task force setting up Uganda Institute of Teacher Education, and working with Makerere University as well. Two questions. One, issue of self-paced learning is interesting, but self-paced learning leaves the learner still to balance the work and learn. How do you ensure completion? Two, radio learning. How do you ensure that that learning is inclusive enough to take care of those with, for example, visual, hearing, or special needs for that matter, when you have lessons through radios, as was presented in the Gambia? Just share with us the experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other question from the room? Yes, we take maybe a couple more and then we'll ask some panelists to answer and we'll pass to the online questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Noel Morananayo. I'm an academic staff at IPRC Kigali, Rwanda Polytechnic. During this COVID pandemic spread, we were obliged to stay home. And all schools were closed. We were supposed to teach online and assess students. But people teaching in technical schools, I would like to have some experiences from probably where this online teaching and assessment was successful, because we need to learn from best practices. I conducted a study during that period because we had some students who said that they were not able to attend these online classes. They could not attend assessment. And what they said was that they could not get internet facilities. They could not have devices that would allow them to access this internet or to access the communication facilities that were being used at that time. So I wonder, practical skills, for instance, in technical education, how do they be transferable to students? Because if we are teaching construction, can a student learn constructing a house using this YouTube or any other online mode? At least blended modes can be used, but when it is totally online, it is quite difficult. I need to hear from where it has been applicable and successful. Thank you.
Please, ma'am, microphone, or you can use the microphone in front of you if there is one.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm called Doreen Kazargwa, and I'm a founder of one school called IICBA Academy. It's found in Ruavu, somewhere out of the town in the village. So my question is, during this epidemic we had and the issues that we faced in the education, as the people that have been expert in looking how the students gonna study well, did you think about the students from the remote areas? Because you find that they don't have access as the students from town, whereby you find that a student in primary level may be using dad and mom's phone, but what about those kids over there? And we have this, that education has to reach to all of them wherever they are. So how would that be successful or being assessed? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we can go straight to the question. I don't know if anyone wants to take this last question. Maybe someone from here. Leon or Dr. Christine, maybe you want to start with this last question. And then I think if you agree, we can pass to the other presenters online. Thank you.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Doreen, for the very good, indeed, question. Reaching remote kids in rural areas is a bit challenging due to, the availability of digital content that was must to be used during like school closure. What like Rwanda Basic Education Board has been doing to be able to provide inclusive content is to diversify the end users' capabilities content. In this case, more than 75% in the rural area, they at least can access feature phones, the mobile phones that, which are not smart, but at least can access SMS. So we've been working on the content, and we try to summarize it so that within 5 SMSs, you can deliver 1 lesson. And those 5 SMSs, they are followed by 3 other SMSs that contains the assessment, the quiz. So we worked on this, and we've been covered lessons from primary 4 until senior 3. And now we're expanding to other lessons. And when it comes to radio, I think it's a bit related to someone who talked about radio. Indeed, radio will be only, listened by someone who doesn't have hearing impairment. So diversifying the content as well to TV for someone who can see also was one of the approach that has been used in Rwanda at least. And on TV, we were able to add the signs so that someone who can see but cannot hear can hear through the signs. and then see what is being demonstrated. So delivering content in the end devices which are not digital, of course, comes with some challenges because you can't provide all the content. Visual content is also a challenge, but at least the main content of the lesson may be delivered through those SMSs. And these are catered by partners and the government so that parent does not need to pay for SMSs, which might be expensive. I think just to, as I'm having the floor, for the person who asked the question about, I think TVET, delivering TVET lessons online, which was quite challenging. Apart from the main, the basic infrastructure such as internet, computer, and so on, the content can be made to serve TVET as well. For practical things like building house, as an example you presented, there is this virtual reality that puts you in that virtual environment so that you can make that house so that when you go out on the field, then practice or putting into practice will be something feasible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Christine. Indeed, it's very important to ensure inclusiveness. Even when we are trying to reach out some of the most marginalized people, it's important to take into account the different dimensions of inclusiveness. It's a very important point and takeaway from today. So I thank you also because you took the initiative to respond to the other question regarding TVET that I wanted to pose you. Maybe I think if you agree, we will pass to some of the questions posed by our participants online. I would like, there is this question concerning assessing using ICTs for CADIBA in the Gambia. Is a question posed by Mr. Philip Di Como from South Africa. He's asking if this assessment used non-multiple choice assessment, and if so, how was this done? Was it effective? The actual assessment using ICT. And
Yes.
maybe since you are answering CADIBA, you can also tell your perspective concerning the use of radio, because this question also posed to the example of the Gambia. Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much for the question. Maybe I can start with the last question, that is the radio issue. The radio issue, because we have different mode of delivery. We have the radio and television, and the television was meant for those with hard of hearing could understand, because we have sign languages on some of the videos that they could sign languages, and those who are visually impaired, we are using the radio to listen to the audios and then respond to any other thing that they want. So actually, I know it was a challenge actually, because we could not provide what it takes to cater for all of them, but at least we try to have sign language specialists who were signing some of these videos alongside with the formal videos. So we had that. And the second question that talked about what? The second question was on assessment.
Yes,
The
assessment using
assessment
ICT.
Assessment part, we have the Island Gambia platform, which is work is still on progress. But what we have been doing is some of these multiple choice questions are put on this platform, and then you will see responses of when you have an answer wrong, for example. So normally you have a chance to try, and then if you try it, then it will bring you the correct answer and you move forward. But still, we are on the construction of this Island Gambia platform. We are still working on it. It's not yet complete, but we have started putting on some content like the multiple choice questions, student can answer and you will see the responses and you will see some assessment, like if you have certain number of wrongs, you will have 80% or 50%, depending on how we program it. So that's what we are doing at the moment, and work is still in progress.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kadi. So as Bernard was pointing my attention to one of the questions that was posed here, I did not forget about it, from Madam Chair of the TTF in Uganda. So I will ask actually Bernard to answer to this question concerning the self-paced learning. How do you ensure completion of self-paced learning? Because it's really a challenge. It's a powerful tool, but it needs a lot of monitoring, a lot of engagement from both teachers and students. So Bernard, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. And actually, it's the opposite. So there's no teacher's engagement at all. What makes people, so can you hear me?
So hear you loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I was saying it's the opposite. Actually, it's the learner who kind of program himself. The teacher now has no role to do other than providing learning resources. And then after that, when you look at the program, they can read the way it was working. It's all those non-formal learners who engage with learning resources. Once they feel they are ready to take exam, they went to register for exam at their discretional time. It's them who made that decision. And also when you look, for example, the other example I gave, like Edinburgh Business School, so it's the same program that is taken by face-to-face students who may start, for example, the same program with non-formal learners who are self-paced learners, who are in the self-paced learning. Then the program is completed by face-to-face in 1 year. But for self-paced learners, because they are busy with their work, normally when we provide, awards are provided, it's based on credit accumulation. If a self-paced learner, because they are busy with their work, in 1 year, they can complete like 60 credits, while full-time students have completed 180 credits. So in other words, if there's a master's degree program that is taken by a full-time student, they can complete it in 1 year, but a self-paced learner can complete the same program in 3 years because they are also busy working. So it's a matter of credit accumulation. Once the self-paced learners feel they are ready to take exam, that's when they register. And once they pass exam, they get the credit for the course, and they add up the number of credits for the awards, being a master's degree or a diploma. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Bernard. So we now have 2 questions specifically for Nicolas from Blackboard. The first question is from Mark Neeson, Head of Professional Development Solution from the Cambridge Partnership of Education. Mark is asking if some work has been done, if there is work being done on defining an agnostic digital skills framework for teachers, we can then be contextualized for specific countries and the needs of their teachers. And he says it feels like there is a lot of activities in this space, some with an underpinning framework and some without. And when there is a framework, it sounds like it is done in isolation. The second question from Nicholas comes from Enoch Rabotapi from South Africa. Enoch is asking if there is information on when do teachers participate on Blackboard's online platform, and also do they use their own data to access the platforms in terms of internet data. So Nicholas, I kindly ask you to
Yes, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Great. All right. So yeah, so the program, so currently the program is running in South Africa, but towards some very specific universities with contracting, right? So this is not yet a nationwide initiative that we've been rolling out together with UNESCO. That's something that we're aiming to do in a longer term, but that's not something that is currently happening. To your question about the data, what Blackboard will facilitate is all the technology around the learning management system, the virtual class, and that's something that is accessible both online and also offline, because we understand that in many regions and many countries in Africa, there are some difficulties with connectivity. So we're very very specific about giving also offline capacity. However, we do not supply the end material. So you can get access to all the content through any kind of mobile phone. You can get access to all the content through any kind of material that you have, but we will not supply you with a tablet, for example, or with a computer. That is not something that we included in the initial design of the whole program. I hope that gives you the answer to the question.
Yes, it does. So anything on maybe the agnostic digital skills framework? You have to add?
Is this also a question for me? Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is for you.
Yeah. So we understand that many institutions and many teachers are already having solutions around them. So I know that you have a vast variety of solutions available. I saw that we were mentioning radio, TV. We were also, mentioning like Zoom, the solution we're currently using, and so on. So I think the first thought we had is to answer to the emergency. We need to give them skills and best practices on how to turn those tools into efficiency for teaching, and that was really our aim. However, we realized that if we want to measure properly the impact afterwards, aside from running some survey, it would be really good to also supply technology so that they can get better at it. One of the key challenges when you're using a vast diversity towards technology is that you don't get the benefit of gathering the data. And all that information is fundamental to drive a significant and powerful strategy to understand what's happening on the other side, how the student is behaving. So we're working and we're starting to cook a bigger program that will also involve that component of the data so that we can back up the result in a very precise manner and make sure that we measure also the change at a very granular level, I would say.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nicolas. So we're about to reach the end of the session, but we have still a couple of questions for Teme Cheng, who is online, and for Leon, who is here. So the first question is probably for Leon. If he can share some, there's Mr. Philip Dicomo from South Africa is asking how are training teachers supported to teach through WhatsApp, television, radio, different tools. Because these are not the usual way in which teachers normally they work. So if there is any experience from Rwanda that you can share concerning the support that was provided to teachers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. Just simply what I can say is in our teacher training program, we have that part of digital literacy for our teachers. So as we have the new policy, if I can say, of one laptop per teacher. So what we provide is different trainings in different centers so that teachers are really familiar with digital devices. So I think the example of our program, teacher training in digital literacy, is really very interesting right now because we would like to have a teacher able to really manipulate those tools. But what we do right now is really accessibility of those tools to our teachers. That is new. That's what I can say for that.
Thank you, Leon. I would just like to follow up on this because there's another question from Michelle Corby at your Montessori guide. She's asking if has there been any research to show how literacy level have improved, like digital literacy among teachers? If you can quickly answer to that, then we'll pass to the next question. Thank you.
Yes, I cannot say that there is a research on that, but what we observed at school level, those teachers who are skilled in digital literacy, they are really teaching well and they are really very motivated. Even when you are using a computer by teaching, there's sometimes you see that there is a difference of those teachers who are not trained in digital literacy and those who are trained. But what we are doing now is really to be aware that every teacher is accessing those digital literacy, and also digital tools, but also having the trainings. And we have at Rwanda Basic Education Board, the department ICT in Education, and Dr. Christine is the head of that department, work closely together by training those teachers. So there's no research as such, but we see and we observe on field what is happening now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Leon, and to everyone from the Rwanda Education Board, also Dr. Christine. Last question is for Temecheng. It's a question posed by Atef Ahmed, independent education consultant from Egypt. Mr. Ahmed says he always observes that the majority of teachers have a big fear of using digital technology in teaching and learning in schools. So how can we overcome the problems of teachers' technophobia? So I'm asking that to you, Temecheng, from the base of your experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There are also, I can also comment on the other questions if time allows. The fear factor is there, of course, particularly when they are relatively senior teachers and have not used the technology. But at the same time, the fear now is also, what shall I say, to lose jobs. If online teaching is a must and schools are closed and they're at home, then there is a need. So you start from the basic literacy skills, and fortunately, the teachers can easily cope up with those things. So it became a must. That's why, you know, the fear factor has to be overcome. Otherwise, the traditional way, the usual way, cannot continue, and we have seen that it cannot continue. With regard to digital literacy framework, we may not call it digital literacy framework. UNESCO has ICT competency framework. The ICT competency framework has been used to frame the ICT integration in the teaching learning process, and many countries, Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, and others, have used those frameworks. In the GPE project, we have also used the TPAC framework, Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge Framework, in which teachers merge technology, content, and pedagogy and teach their respective subjects. And with regard to Tibet, again, with 5 East African countries, we have developed digital teaching modules for Tibet teachers. And as I speak, the master teachers, 12 from each of the 5 countries, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Madagascar, they are also using it. So we have experiences, but talking about the effect and the effectiveness is a bit early, but we'll do it. And ICT competency framework, we have also designed research in this area, but it is only.
Thank you, Temecheng. I'm sorry to cut you, Temecheng, but we are really running out of time. I think in any case, participants can still write down their questions and we can answer to them and send to all those that have registered. And those that are here will have time just after this session to continue exchange on this topic. So I give the floor again to Saliu for the closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davide, for having conducted brilliantly this chat session. And thank you all participants for your active reactions. So I'm now going to give the floor to Dr. Nelson, the Director General of REB, for the closing remarks. So Doctor, you have the floor.
A representative of UNESCO, representatives of ministries of education, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Let me take this opportunity to thank you, to thank the presenters from UNESCO-IICBA and the Rwanda Basic Education Board for insightful discussion on different capacity development and lifelong learning approaches. creating opportunities for non-formal learning of teachers and other learners in Rwanda started in 1998 when the Ministry of Education opened national examinations to non-formal learners via the program De Candidat Libre, a decision that enabled about 25,000 teachers to upgrade their qualifications, many of the tertiary education level. Those teachers have been teaching at primary, secondary, tertiary levels of education, or have contributed to education development in Rwanda in different ways. Despite this considerable impact of the program, the Candidat Libre, on teachers, there is a need to acknowledge that such learning opportunities need to be expanded to enable lifelong learning for all, as stipulated by Sustainable Development Goal 4. We are now in a much better position to create learning opportunities for everyone. While in early years of the program, the Candidat Libre, non-formal learners borrowed notes from colleagues in preparation for national exams without being sure that the notes align with the national curriculum. Rwanda Basic Education Board has now openly released all primary and secondary curricula and textbooks in its digital learning platform. This made access to formal learning materials by non-formal learners much easier. Similar best practices may be developed across education sectors. Our colleagues from UNESCO-IICBA highlighted the critical importance of developing digital competencies among teachers and the learners, a view that we absolutely share. Rwanda Basic Education Board, working with partners such as UNESCO, VVOB, and the Mascard Foundation, has been developing digital competencies of our teachers and school leaders, and we will continue to work in that direction. This is critical in order to develop our preparedness to crises such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the similar future crises that we do not know yet when they will strike. Building on digital skill development initiatives, Rwanda Basic Education Board and its partners were able to provide teacher and school leader training programs fully online and in a blended learning modality before and after the COVID-19 pandemic. These accomplishments should, however, whoever not make us forget the issue of digital divide that is still prevalent in Africa, including Rwanda. Negligence on the digital divide may exacerbate existing inequalities rather than help us achieve equitable quality education for all. The impact of the program, the Candidat Libre, shows us that even lives of learners who have no access to digital devices can be significantly transformed via alternative offline learning pathways. That is why particularly attention should also be paid to innovation in both online and offline learning pathways to ensure every learner, regardless of her or his location or socioeconomic background, has an opportunity to learn. This is how we will eliminate the loss and wastage of our potential talents. On our side, Rwanda Basic Education Board will continue to work with our partners to leverage digital skills, open distance and e-learning, and the multiple learning pathways to develop the capacity of our teachers in a way that creates values for them. So far, we have started here in Rwanda 1 laptop per teacher, and we started already the distribution of laptops to teachers. This year, we have recruited more than 20,000 teachers, most of whom did not graduate from teacher training programs. This session was an invaluable opportunity to reflect on how we may accelerate their capacity development via digital learning and multiple learning pathways. We invite our partners to join us in related innovation. I believe that working together, we can formulate a policy and strategy and develop best practices that will lead us toward teacher development and achieve SDG 4. Let me conclude my remarks by calling upon our partners here present to continue to empower teachers with the 21st century skills, including digital and self-determined learning skills. I wish you a wonderful experience in all other sessions of this forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nelson, Director General of REB, for these insightful closing remarks. We are really grateful. And thank you all, dear participants, for your interactive participation. We are really, we much appreciate. So before we finish, just one announcement. The discussion, as Davide said, can continue online or in the terrace because we're going to have a coffee break and come back to this room in 30 minutes, meaning at 4:30, we must be here for the next plenary. So thank you very much for attending and thank you for active listening.